will be.
Crime alert today as police now searching for the shooter who gunned down a man in Hallandale Beach, and we've learned that victim was a local rapper. Local 10's Rochelo has the latest now from that scene.
We saw Hallandale Beach police out here throughout the day investigating, trying to solve this case where a young man, 25 years old, had his life taken. According to witnesses, he was a rapper. We did look into his history. He has been arrested in the past. But police say this is very much an ongoing investigation.
The neighborhood on Northwest 6th Avenue in Hallandale Beach was calm before the violence. Houses stood in silence. Cars lined the road, and families were inside their homes. Then, without warning, the sound of gunfire shattered the stillness. Neighbors reacted in fear as the noise echoed across the block. Some rushed to turn off lights and hide, while others stayed low and waited for the danger to pass. For many, it was a terrifying moment they would not forget. A system called ShotSpotter captured the gunfire and sent an instant alert to the police. Within minutes, patrol cars raced into the area, their sirens cutting through the night air. Officers arrived to find chaos, the road blocked off and the scene already showing signs of a deadly event. On the ground, they discovered Brandon Wamley, known to the music world as Wam SpinThaBin. He had been shot several times and was badly wounded. Emergency responders moved quickly, lifting him onto a stretcher and rushing him to the nearest hospital for treatment. Police secured the block with yellow tape, placing evidence markers near the shell casing scattered across the street. Flashlights swept over sidewalks, parked cars, and doorways as investigators searched for clues. Officers spoke with residents, gathering accounts of what they saw or heard during the shooting. Despite medical efforts, Brandon's injuries proved fatal. News of his death spread swiftly, first through official channels, then across social media platforms. Fans and community members soon realized that the young rapper's career and life had come to an end. Detectives focused their attention on identifying the shooter. They confirmed early in the investigation that the act was not random. Brandon had been involved in a dispute that turned violent, and the person responsible was someone familiar to him. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below. Where are you tuning in from? What are your thoughts as this story unfolds? Your voice matters. These are real people, real tragedies, and real lessons we can't ignore. Share this video with someone you care about. It can make all the difference. Welcome to Unseen Crime Dossiers, your home for spine-chilling cases, haunting before mysteries, and deep dives into the world of crime. From jaw-dropping real-life events to groundbreaking forensic discoveries, we're here to uncover the truth behind the most gripping investigations. Step inside, examine the evidence, and lose yourself in the shadows of true crime. Brandon Wamley was born in January 2000 in Florida. From a young age, he developed an interest in music and rhythm, shaping his style around rap and storytelling. His passion soon turned into a career path that led him to a recording studio and later to the stage. He performed under the name Wam SpinThaBin, a title that quickly became recognized among fans of modern hip-hop. His early releases built a loyal audience and opened doors for greater opportunities. Listeners connected with his sound, which carried a mix of raw energy and street influence. By 2021, Brandon released his first project, Life Before Fame. The album marked the start of his presence in the wider music industry. He followed it with Before I Self-Destruct in 2022, showing growth in his craft and ambition. In 2023, he put out Teardrops and Closed Caskets, adding another milestone to his discography. His efforts drew the attention of Kodak Black, who brought him into the Sniper Gang Collective. The connection raised his profile further, placing him alongside established artists and giving his career new momentum. For many, this partnership confirmed his potential as one of the next breakout talents. Beyond collaborations, Brandon's solo tracks gained traction online. One of his songs was highlighted by Pitchfork in 2022 as a standout in the rap scene. Recognition from a respected publication pushed his name beyond local circles and into national conversations. Brandon's public image reflected the dual sides of a rising artist, the hard work behind the music and the lifestyle that came with recognition. Photos, videos, and interviews showed a man dedicated to creating while also living under the constant gaze of fans and critics. At just 25 years old, he stood at a point where his career could have expanded even further. His catalog of music, his connections in the industry, and his growing base of supporters all suggested a future filled with possibility. That future ended abruptly in the final days of August 2025. The investigation into the death of Brandon Wamley began immediately after the shooting. Detectives worked through the night, documenting the scene and collecting every piece of evidence left behind. Photographs were taken, bullet casings were bagged, and the layout of the crime scene was carefully mapped out. Officers moved from house to house in the neighborhood, speaking with residents who had been inside during the incident. Some gave accounts of hearing the gunfire, while others provided details about movements on the street before and after the shots were fired. These statements were added to the growing case file. Law enforcement officials also searched for surveillance cameras in the area. Footage from homes, businesses, and street corners was reviewed in hopes of capturing images that could provide clarity. Each video was studied frame by frame, forming a timeline of events leading up to the shooting. The Hallandale Beach Police Department called on the public for assistance. A direct phone line was provided, along with information for contacting Broward Crime Stoppers. Authorities stressed the importance of community support in helping identify the circumstances that led to the deadly outcome. As evidence was pieced together, investigators confirmed that the incident involved a person familiar with Brandon. This detail shifted the direction of their work, as they focused on tracing the history of the relationship between the two men. Detectives examined communications, social media activity, and any prior disputes that could reveal motive. The case required coordination across multiple units, from patrol officers to homicide specialists. Reports were compiled. Forensics teams examined ballistic evidence, and analysts reviewed digital records. Every lead was tracked, and every tip followed as the investigation pressed forward. Through these steps, police aimed to build a clear account of the night and identify the individual responsible for taking the life of a 25-year-old artist. The process continued as officials worked to turn evidence into charges that could stand in court. News of Brandon Wamley's death spread rapidly across social media platforms, turning timelines into streams of disbelief and mourning. His name trended as fans, friends, and fellow artists began to post tributes, memories, and reactions to the sudden loss. In Hallandale Beach, the area where the shooting took place became a gathering spot. Supporters left candles, flowers, and handwritten notes at the site. The makeshift memorial grew each day, symbolizing the mark Brandon left on those who followed his journey. The music industry also took notice. Artists who had worked with him and others who admired his style issued statements acknowledging his potential and the tragedy of his absence. Posts from major names carried his image and music to even wider audiences. His family stepped into the public eye with calls for privacy and justice. They spoke of his ambition, his dedication to his craft, and the love he carried for the people close to him. Their words were shared widely, adding a personal voice to the headline.
Talk about why it was important for you to sober up and get a clear state of mind.
Shit, I ain't gonna lie. That's another thing I say, like, stay away from that drug shit. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I know I'm smoking weed right now, but like, all that other shit, bro, that shit ain't what it is, bro, you feel me? Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, if you going through pain, like, or depression, or that mental health shit, I know all that shit real. If you going through that, I don't know how you cope with it, but like, my word of advice, don't use drugs. Like, I ain't gonna lie, just talk to God, though. Like, you feel me? That way gonna help you, for real.
Nah, that's real. What led you to find God in sobriety in that moment?
Shit, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it real. After Wiz died, my other close brother died. His name was Blood. Like, his real name was Mondo. I ain't gonna lie, I had overdose type shit, you feel me? I done it.
6-year-old rapper from Jacksonville. His name carried recognition in the music scene, especially for his controversial lyrics and history of disputes with rivals. Bennett was quickly identified as the individual believed to be connected to the shooting. Detectives pointed to witness testimony, forensic evidence, and surveillance material that placed him at the center of their investigation. His arrest marked a major development in the case. The charges filed against him included first-degree murder with firearm and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. These accusations carried the possibility of a life sentence, showing the severity of what prosecutors intended to pursue. Court records reveal that Bennett had faced prior legal troubles, including incidents involving weapons. This background added weight to the current charges, as prosecutors argued that the latest offense was part of a larger pattern. When Bennett appeared before a judge, he was ordered to remain in custody without bond. The ruling ensured he would stay behind bars while the legal process unfolded. The decision was based on both the seriousness of the crime and his criminal history. Legal teams on both sides began preparing for what promised to be a lengthy and closely watched case. Prosecutors worked to assemble a complete file of evidence, while defense attorneys studied the materials with the goal of challenging the state's narrative. The announcement of the charges deepened the public's interest, linking two well-known rap figures in a tragic event that would now move into the courtroom. The legal proceedings ensured that the story continued to attract national attention beyond the initial reports. The case against Marco Bennett advanced into the courtroom with heavy media coverage. Reporters filled the gallery as hearings began, and updates from each session spread quickly across online platforms. The trial was marked as a high-profile proceeding from the start. Prosecutors presented their timeline of events, supported by forensic reports, video evidence, and testimony from individuals who lived near the scene. They worked to show that the shooting was deliberate and left little room for doubt about Bennett's role. The defense responded by challenging the reliability of certain accounts and raising concerns about how evidence had been handled. Their arguments centered on creating uncertainty, suggesting that the state's version of the events did not tell the full story. Witnesses were called one after another, from neighbors who described what they heard to specialists who explained the findings of ballistic testing. Each statement added another piece to the broader picture that the jury would eventually weigh. Courtroom procedures were followed carefully. Motions were filed, objections were raised, and rulings were delivered by the judge to keep the process on track. Both sides pushed their positions with intensity, aware of the stakes involved. The length of the proceedings reflected the complexity of the case. Days stretched into weeks as testimony, cross-examinations, and evidence reviews continued. Every session contributed to the growing record that would determine the final outcome. As the trial moved forward, public interest remained steady. News outlets provided daily recaps, and discussions continued across social media, ensuring that the case stayed in focus far beyond the courtroom walls. After weeks of testimony and review, the trial entered its final phase. Jurors were given instructions by the judge and told to carefully examine the evidence before reaching a decision. The weight of their task was clear, as both sides had built strong cases. Deliberations began behind closed doors, stretching across multiple sessions. Jurors studied exhibits, replayed video clips, and reread transcripts from witnesses. Every detail was measured against the charges that had been filed. The verdict was eventually announced in a packed courtroom. The jury found Marco Bennett guilty of first-degree murder and related firearm charges. The decision brought the trial to a dramatic close, with the ruling confirming the state's account of the events. Once the guilty verdict was read, attention shifted immediately to sentencing. Prosecutors pushed for the maximum penalty, emphasizing the loss of life and the seriousness of the crime. Defense lawyers argued for leniency, citing Bennett's age and circumstances. The judge reviewed the recommendations, considered the arguments, and weighed the legal guidelines. In the end, Bennett was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, closing the door on any chance of release. The sentencing hearing was marked by statements from family members of Brandon Wamley. Their words highlighted the impact of the tragedy and the void left behind. These accounts became part of the official record, documenting the human cost of the crime. With the ruling delivered, the case reached its conclusion in the courtroom. Legal appeals remained a possibility, but the sentence ensured that Bennett would spend the rest of his life in custody. The loss of Brandon Wamley left a permanent mark on the hip-hop community. His music, built from years of dedication, continued to circulate long after his passing, keeping his voice alive for listeners who admired his work. His catalog of projects grew in importance, with fans revisiting tracks that once introduced him to the industry. Songs gained new meaning as audiences connected the lyrics to the story of his life and the way it ended. Industry peers spoke about his influence, noting the energy he brought to collaborations and the unique sound he developed. His presence in Sniper Gang was remembered as a sign of his potential to reach even higher levels of success. The tragedy also sparked renewed awareness around safety for artists. Conversations spread across forums, podcasts, and interviews about the dangers tied to fame and the need for stronger protection in environments that often carry risk. Memorial events were organized in his honor, including vigils and community gatherings. These occasions allowed people to reflect on his journey, share memories, and recognize the cultural impact he had made in such a short time. Educators, journalists, and cultural commentators pointed to his story as an example of both achievement and caution. They highlighted the balance between talent and the realities of the lifestyle that surrounded many young performers. Though his career was cut short, the name Brandon Wamley remained in circulation as fans kept streaming his music, discussing his legacy, and ensuring that his contributions were not forgotten. His story became part of the broader history of hip-hop's rising stars. The case of Brandon Wamley stands as a complete story of ambition, conflict, and consequence. It began with the rise of a young artist whose work gained recognition, and it ended in a courtroom where justice was delivered. The investigation showed how evidence, testimony, and community involvement played a role in solving a violent crime. Every detail, from surveillance footage to witness accounts, built the structure that carried the case through trial. The legal process demonstrated the reach of accountability. A fellow rapper faced charges, was tried before a jury, and received a sentence that removed him from public life permanently. The decision closed the official record of what had taken place. For fans and supporters, the music left behind became the way to remember Brandon. His voice carried through albums, singles, and collaborations that still reached audiences worldwide. Even after his death, his creative output kept his presence alive. Media attention ensured that the events did not fade quickly. News reports, online discussions, and features place his name alongside others who faced similar fates, framing him as part of a broader pattern within the industry. The community marked the loss with gatherings, tributes, and ongoing conversations. These responses reflected how his influence extended beyond entertainment, touching lives through both his art and his personal journey. In the end, the story of Brandon Wamley became more than one moment in time. It entered the record of cultural history, remembered for the path he took, the challenges he faced, and the impact left behind. Here at Unseen Crime Dossiers, we're driven by a mission to uncover hidden realities, honor forgotten voices, and keep their memories alive. If this story made you pause, reflect, or feel something, there's more coming that will challenge you even deeper. Make sure to hit subscribe, tap the like button, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a case. We're dropping new episodes regularly, and trust us, what's ahead is even more chilling. Before you go, we want to hear from you. What moment hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. Your perspective matters, and your voice helps keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and never stop seeking the truth, because every life deserves to be heard.